Great. So welcome once again. We're here at Tuesdays in the Boardroom, where we're mapping transitions that engage your talents, purpose, and allies. Once again, we're using the frame that we have for any endeavor we take on, for any conversation, for any project, for any thought that we have. The frame that we have around it informs the success of it. So if we can look at this path as a framework for our journey, it helps us contextualize every conversation, every circumstance that happens. If we say, oh, I'm in the wilderness and that's where God is, this is holy ground. So conversations that seem very side, that don't seem like a formal job search, they too are actually God's work all around you in the wilderness. So keeping that frame on this transition is going to empower everything you do if you can keep within that frame. As we do a job search, we want so badly to get to that end result of getting that next job. What is it going to be? What's the answer? And as we introduced earlier, William Bridges is one of the foremost authorities on change management in the corporate environment. He has a tremendous book called Transitions that talks about personal transition and professional. He's got a great quote in his book, and he was talking about this one particular woman that she wanted an answer. And so she almost overlooked seeing that she was giving a path to follow. So frequently we're going down a path and we don't have a good interview, or we don't get the right connection, and we think, well, this isn't the right path. It's the right path. You just haven't gotten to the right result yet. So notice if there are trends that are happening that appear to be more of a path than just a straight line to the job that you want next. There are structures that you need to place in the wilderness. You need to say, what are my structures? One of the structures you're doing is right now coming here, having this be part of the structures in your wilderness walk, because you don't know what you might hear or see or experience in this structure, but God does, and God can move you through it. So coming every single time that you can is useful. Going ahead, taking time out to watch the videos later, that's a structure that you have. There are other structures like getting up at certain hours or going in and putting so many Zoom on your calendar. These are the structures in the wilderness that God can use to move you forward. We've been talking about allies throughout this, and I can't overemphasize them. They're going to be in almost all of our slides every single week, because we have a tendency to not recognize people that we already know. We may not understand that they can be a mentor. Like if it's your big sister, she may drive you insane. She may not be the one you first think of as a mentor. But if you talk with her and talk with her about the job search in a certain way, she may know somebody who knows somebody. But very important to use them for your intelligence, not just for the conversation, but to do your research. Because as they bring up a friend of theirs from church or their friend from the neighborhood, that name is part of your research. That name may be the very name you go in and plug into LinkedIn to go find right after the conversation. So when you start thinking about where are we going in the wilderness, and there were 40 years that they wandered in the wilderness, and I promise you it won't be 40 years looking for a job. I know it feels like it some days, but they wandered for 40 years. But they had a real clear picture of what was the promised land. It was filled with milk and honey. It was sustaining, it was joyful, it was industrious. So when you think about what is my promised land, the first thing is to really think about, do I want to be in my zip code? Do I want to be in my neighborhood? Do I want to research there? But I've always wanted to move to the mountains, or I've always wanted to work near the ocean. Let's find those zip codes. Let's do the research on those zip codes also, because it will open up opportunities. You may be looking for something in the mountains and actually find your connection to something in Atlanta. But because you went and looked at it in the mountains, You were researching for someday. Maybe it is 10 years from now or 5 years from now that you actually look for that house and can actually move there. But go ahead and start doing some research on that zip code, because you have no idea if this is a heartfelt, I just can't wait to retire to the mountains. Go ahead and find that zip code. If I really want to go, that's how I ended up at the beach. And not that I'm the know-all be-all, but it has worked for me and many of our clients to have multiple zip codes that they're researching online for jobs. Charles Kettering, who's the founder of Delco and head of research at General Motors, says research means that you don't know, but you're willing to find out. I always thought research was geeky. It's for the smart girls and guys that really love doing that. But research is actually just having the willingness to find out, because so frequently when we work with people are, I can't do that, I can't do this. They have all these reasons why they cannot do things. They can't look into things. But if you will give that up and be willing to find out and to be curious, then your research will be more fruitful. And Albert Einstein said play is the highest form of research. Play. So if you take time to go play tennis, you may find that your tennis partner has got that connection or that person that you can then research. Go walk in the gardens. Go, if you can get to outdoor entertainment, eventually we'll be able to go to movies, be able to go to theater, go it online, invite a bunch of friends to do a Zoom together and watch a movie that's your favorite. Play is the highest form of research. When your brain is not focused with all of its chatter on this task, it suddenly is lightened up to be able to bring in new things. We had a TED Talk earlier today where they were talking about, Shonda, you want to jump in and say something about the TED Talk today and how,
Sure.
play?
Yeah. So this was Adam Grant. If any of you are familiar, he's an excellent speaker and writer. Very funny observation of human behavior. An organizational development consultant, and he recognized how important is play. It is because we have to relax in order to open our brains to creative thoughts, to actually be open to new things. We cannot put ourselves under the pressure of the time limits and all the limitations and all the fears that fill our brains and fill us up and don't leave us the space or the air really to breathe and bring in those new fresh ideas. And so he also pointed out the importance of letting things percolate, or as he said, actually to allow them that time to think about what you want to do something else, go for that walk with your dog, or go for have another conversation with somebody. But in the back of your mind is active. It's working hard to take all the pieces of the puzzle that you were just presented as this challenge, and it's looking and driving towards a solution for you. So if you actually allow yourself to procrastinate, believe it or not, yes, procrastination can be good if you find that sweet spot of not waiting too long, obviously that you put yourself under extreme duress, but waiting just long enough that your brain has had some time to actually work through and ruminate, to really put the pieces of the puzzle together. You'll be significantly more successful in solving that problem or that challenge if you allow your mind to do that. And being able to play is one of the important aspects that allows you that space. So that's how it all kind of ties together.
Exactly. I just wanted to bring that in because it's just, we tend to, again, frame this activity of research in this very dry, computer icky way. If we can free ourselves from that frame, then suddenly it's much more fun. Robert McKee is a story consultant, and he says he teaches how to tell stories, and we've been talking about telling stories through this whole walk in the wilderness. He says when you do enough research, the story almost writes itself. Lines of development spring loose, and you'll have choices galore. Do research, feed your talent. Research not only wins the war on cliche, it's the key to victory over fear and its cousin, depression. because a lot of research causes fear and depression, I'm telling you, as you get on and you get sucked in. We were talking earlier about people just trying to get vaccines lined up and having to go online and how stressful that can be. So making sure that you do the research, relax, get maybe a buddy to do it with you, um, make it play, do the research, feed your talent, but it will keep you from being fearful and depressed if you're researching, because as you do the research, lines of development spring loose. So as you research that mountain home, you get a little bit of juice and suddenly you start thinking, ooh, this particular career would be an interesting segue into that. But if you're not researching to know that now there's a new, let's say, a new Wi-Fi signal up in the mountains where it never been before, so you could actually move there earlier, but you have to research the spot to find out they've just put up a brand new Wi-Fi signal tower. So that's the kind of thing that can happen if you relax. Then you won't be as depressed or fearful. So we'll move into the real typical first steps, which is LinkedIn. And you can go online, you can learn all about LinkedIn, but just do it lightly. I change my LinkedIn descriptor frequently because I come up with new words. Two weeks later, oh, this word would be a better word. So this is a living document, just like a website. A LinkedIn page will change frequently. In fact, the Google Analytic people of the world will tell you that actually updating your LinkedIn frequently has it roll up and be seen more often. So don't feel like, yeah, I've done my LinkedIn, or I don't want to do my LinkedIn because I don't have that right picture or I don't have the right description. Go ahead and do what you can. You should be getting a headshot in any case, but get your picture up there, get it going, because that's where a lot of these generation 2, not your first generation, second generation, is where your job probably will be. Maybe third, but most likely it's in 2. So if you have got your LinkedIn and you start building the 1-level connectors, you have no idea. I could have somebody on my first level that is actually your connector, or Shonda could, or Leslie could, or even Graham could. So being able to have these connectors right there at the fingertips helps you when you're researching. Satchel Paige says, work like you don't need the money, love like you've never been hurt, and dance like nobody's watching. So I want you to understand that playing with this is really, really important. Also, acting as if you didn't need the money. Because when we are so worried about, we've got to make the money, if we don't find this job, we're not going to make money, we're going to die, our dog's going to die, our family's going to die, when we reek of that fear. So being able to play, because truly you have God in your corner. He's got you. It will flow. It may flow through a friend who helps you out for a period of time that you pay back when you have the money. It may flow through relatives who love you. It may flow wherever it flows, but you have it. So directory of, these are more examples. I just give you quotes for your right brain so that your left brain can take on all of the websites that you go to. Directory of associations. If you have been in an association in the past, or you'd like to be in an association because you realize the career you'd like to go into might get you to that house in the mountains, there's an association for that. Join it. Because then you're going to Zoom calls like this. Shonda and I are going to be speaking to the SHRM, local SHRM meeting. And right now, because Zoom is new and it's weird, people are getting on and you're meeting people that you wouldn't meet even if you were sitting and having a cocktail at the business after hours, or you were face to face. So going on to the directory of associations is a good place to start with getting connectors. The super pages. You can search businesses by name, category, or location. The Vault is an in-depth look into some of the hottest industries, provides advice and company and industry profiles. Lou Waltz said, your talent determines what you can do. Your motivation determines how much you're willing to do. Your attitude determines how well you do it. Just taking on this job search with a good attitude and then building some motivation, building on your talent. It's the little things. How you do this job search matters, your attitude during the job search. So have a glass of wine before you jump onto DB Hoover's, Dun& Bradstreet Hoover's. It'll help. Dun & Bradstreet will tell you a lot about the companies that are in your zip codes that you're looking. They'll help you with companies that you can learn a lot about. It'll help those threads of development pop out during the research that starts giving you that path. Indeed.com, you can use this to look for jobs. We recommend you look for company reviews. Check out the top 100 list, top 100 fastest growing companies that's constantly being updated. Since the pandemic, all things have been shifted. So even if somebody had this knowledge 6 months ago, this is brand new stuff. 100 best companies to work for. Why not go for one of the companies that already has the kind of culture that you'd actually want to be in, and you wouldn't have to work so hard to fix it? Of course, if you do have a bad one, let us know. We'll come in and help. So basically, cue the confetti, because again, we're storytelling. This week, we talked about researching opportunities, and we're going to be sending you this deck. All the time, remember, you can email us if you're getting stuck on any of these or you'd like to learn more. Just email us. We will continue with pumping all kinds of connections. The truth of the matter is the internet can get overwhelming with opportunity and overwhelming. And sometimes you may need some help narrowing down once you get in and start doing your research. Next week, we're going to be talking about activating those allies. We just had an example earlier where allies sitting here in this very room started talking about helping a need. How did you activate? Just by talking about a need you have, which generally we don't want to talk about our needs. We don't want to tell other people that we need a prayer, that we don't want to tell everybody else that we need something. But in a moment of vulnerability, when you say something about, gee, I really need to help my daughter, that activated an ally who jumped right in and said, oh, you need to connect your daughter to this particular person. Guess what? I already know that person, but I didn't realize she would be such a great resource for me. Okay, so activating allies takes more time and thought, maybe not time, but definitely thought. You need to take your group of people that you already know on that first level and relook at them. Go into their second level, go into their connections and go, oh, we've got 4 people alike. I didn't know. You can reach out and say, gee, I'd like to have a Zoom and find out, how do you know Bob Dole? How did you know him? How did you connect to him? So you can start a conversation just like that. Activating allies is important because you don't just want to go and, hey, looking for a job, can you take my resume and just shoot it through your organization? No, of course they'll want to help you, but that may not be the best way to approach them. Tell them that you notice that they're connected to somebody and they're, oh yeah, Bob, he's great. Okay. Then we'll be going to expanding your reach. Once you start getting good at really warming up these connections, we're going to push you just a little bit further, because that's where it's in that stretch that God wants you to have. That's in that stretch. That's when you start being able to connect quickly. Interviewing skills, negotiating skills. These are things that we think, oh gosh, but there are tips, tools, approaches, easy questions that you can use to help dance, because this is literally a dance between you and them, because they may not be right for you. It's not just them interviewing you, you're interviewing them. Then we're going to have a reunion on the 27th. Again, a reminder, we're here. We help you uncover your winning formula. We have winning formulas in a lot of areas. So we've uncovered your winning formula in being able to collaborate, but we've got winning formulas for leadership, winning formulas for sales, for management. We have assessment tools that help uncover your winning formula. We can help you unlock these shortcuts and unblock people gridlock, because people gridlock you're going to find in your search, and then celebrate the path. And again, here's some pricing and that kind of thing. So I'm going to stop the share so we can actually have the fun part, which is chat.